But if you are just joining us, Thief is a reboot of a series in which a bloke steals money from people with too much disposable income because he doesn't feel like putting any effort into working for a living, so it's good to see the creators of this new one taking that particular attitude on board, if nothing else. Yes, this does smack of Skyrim a smidgen, but only outwardly. Unlike Skyrim, the character creation lets you play as a fat bastard, so obviously I spent the entire game playing as a 6-foot fat middle-aged black lady, in fond recollection of how I lost my virginity. The Metal Gear series is the video game equivalent of Lenny from Of Mice and Men, a huge, lovable idiot. It discovers things that ordinary people figured out years ago, like hovering the third-person camera behind the player character instead of nailing it to passing seagulls, and we applaud it for overcoming its disadvantages. And when it fucks up, I can't stay mad at it, because it doesn't fuck up out of malice. Hey Metal Gear, why did you pretend MGS2 would be about Solid Snake, then replace him 20 minutes in with a cross between an albino Barbie doll and Wesley Crusher? Duh, I'm sorry. I just wanted everyone to meet this cool new character I made up. He's a cyborg and his nipples turn into shurikens. Hey Metal Gear, why are all these emotionally traumatized young women thrusting their butts at the camera? Duh, I'm sorry. Looking at bums makes my willy feel nice. With MGS5 Ground Zeroes, I worry that he's fallen in with a bad influence. Why did you chop the intro off your upcoming game and release it for $40, Metal Gear? Duh, I'm sorry. Mr. Konami says I have to pay him back for all the fizzy gummy bears he gave me. Did I ever tell you about the rabbits, Metal Gear? Are they down that shotgun barrel? Yes, Metal Gear. Have a closer look.
And so once again we slip into the D-cups of Lara Croft, world's worst archaeologist. When she's not putting her foot through inestimably valuable samples of ancient pottery, she's stealing every slightly shiny thing that was ever buried with some royal dead guy and hoarding them in her basement. And yet the academic world continued to let her run amok, probably because A, academics are basically the alpha males of the nerd pack, and B, Lara Croft is built like a giant bong with 2 footballs nailed to it.
Essentially, this is a game of running down the list of options until you provoke a reaction, like an on-call electrician looking for the busted fuse. Step 1, push it. Step 2, shine a light on it. Step 3, shine the other light on it. Step 4, give it a suck. If it responds, continue sucking. Dig in your heels and suck until your moustache stands on end, you beautiful man. It makes for a reactive, explorable world with a solid core mechanic that ramps up naturally as the ghosts grow in number and strength. When you're latched onto a ghost's backside, you must be alert to when to suck with all your might and when to ease off to allow yourself to dodge other ghosts who might be trying to double team you unexpectedly in the rear. Gosh, it's getting awfully hot in here. Electronic arts. Arts. If there was ever a name that illustrated a need for some kind of verbal equivalent of social services who come and forcibly take words away if they're being misused, then again they do mainly go by EA these days, so maybe they quietly changed their name to Extruding Arseholes so as not to offend reality. My point is, if there was ever a time when artistry was important enough to the company to be eponymous, then that is not a time in which we are currently living. Now they're just all about money and being a dick about things. Perhaps EA now stands for Expel All, your money, from your wallet, so that we can have it, and then be a dick about it.
Minecraft is becoming as popular among computer nerds as a 6-button wireless mouse with tits, but I hesitate to call it a game, strictly speaking. Alright, there are skeletons in it that you have to wave a sword at until they stop moving, which would normally characterise a game, but that's not what you're there for, in the same way you don't go to the beach to get sand kicked in your face, and you don't go to Glasgow to get your eyes gouged out with broken bottles. No, respectively, you go there to build sandcastles and purchase heroin. Just to settle down, I've got a perfect candidate for a husband, Jason Voorhees. They've got so much in common. They've both had an embarrassing number of adventures that all follow an extremely specific formula. They both have an irresistible compulsion to murder God's creatures. They've both spent a lot of time underground, and most importantly, neither of them will ever just fucking die.
Was a popular understanding that there is no such thing as bad publicity, a theory best tested by pasting a huge blown-up photo of someone's knob along the side of Sydney Harbour Bridge with the caption, "Guess where I've been, here's a hint, you were born from it." For EA, they are full of innovative ideas. As we just discussed, they have innovative new ideas on what the word fun means, and they're breaking new ground with the definition of sequel, too. I always thought it meant game with more stuff in it, but that just shows how archaic my thinking is. The area given for each city seems a bit small, which I suspect may be intended to incentivize sharing facilities with your neighbors, which I think is one of the ways HIV can get transmitted. You also can't edit the terrain before founding the city like you could in SimCity 4, and you can't import characters from The Sims anymore either. So tell me, little finger puppet, assuming that multiplayer elements are about as enticing to me as the sight of a dog sniffing another dog's bum, an easy thing to assume because they are there any new features SimCity can offer me? Well, there's a poo map. I beg your pardon? We've got a special map that lets you see all the poo, forming in big piles under people's houses. Then you can build an outlet pipe and watch all the poo speed away on a wee one-way system. Fucking sold! They're pretty much all the same behaviour-wise, a cadre of absolute dunces that point out baddies, pick up shiny objects and constantly repeat the bleeding obvious. This area is quite verdant. We are on a path. We could get a good view from the top of that tower. I know we could, asshole. You know how I know? Because I was just on the top of that tower, and so were you. Imagine what it would be like to have your body taken over by some strange alien intelligence, but with you still being alive and conscious inside, silently screaming and staring out your own eyes as your limbs move by themselves, and your voice speaks words that are not your own. Imagine then that instead of trying to undermine the human race or sex up your wife, your mysterious puppeteer instead made you do really innocuous things like bum around the house in slippers, do a bit of gardening, make some oat biscuits, and go out of your way to avoid having sex sex with your wife. That's basically what playing Animal Crossing New Leaf is like. A weird mix of entrapment, Sunday tea time banality, and staring existential horror, not unlike daytime television. The higher part of your brain can see how utterly asinine the experience is, but it's just getting dragged along for the ride like a bunch of helium balloons tied to a wonky supermarket trolley. Sure, lower part of the brain, a blue tiled roof probably would solve our constant crushing sense of emptiness. Oh god, stop! But it's also not the game it purports to be in its own intro sequence. The Ghosts, as the name might imply, are ostensibly a legendary stealth unit that specialises in taking down larger forces through sneaky guerrilla tactics. So obviously one of the first things you do in the game is ram raids an enemy base in a burning truck and start gunning down every living thing from the dandelions on upwards. Yeah, that's some good Ghost in there, lads. Truly thou art akin to the flicker of a candlelight shadow as you waddle around an open field being shot at from 19 different directions. Titles at me, but Halo Wars has not sold me on the genre. Maybe RTS controls are just inherently incompatible with consoles. I hear Stormrise uses an innovative new control method that could potentially fill the missing pieces, but frankly I stopped caring about 10 missions into Halo Wars' campaign. You see, I was given a time limit to take down 3 enemy placements in order to rescue a bunch of trapped units. After several arduous battles, I'd ruined the enemy's shit, found the final group and sent them off to base via a path I'd completely cleared on the way there. But at a point when the base could almost certainly see them without a telescope, I ran out of time and the units disappeared. We lost contact, went a character. Bull fucking shit. All possible threats were dead. We didn't lose contact. I was looking at them. They were right fucking there. We were close enough to communicate by waggling our eyebrows at each other. What the fuck happens when the stupid arbitrary time limit runs out? Do their battle royale collars explode? They all lose honour and disembowel themselves? What? And just to put the cherry on it, you know who they were? Absolutely bloody no one. Generic faceless pricks of the sort I'd vat-grown about 50 of that day alone. But we didn't make it in time, so they were going to make me do the whole fucking mission again. As the exasperated Chinese zookeeper said to the last male panda in the world, fuck that! You play 50 Cent, obviously, fresh from having performed a concert in the Middle East where the hecklers must be pretty fucking brutal because he wears full combat gear on stage. A shady concert promoter is persuaded to pay him with an ancient diamond-encrusted skull, a priceless piece of boneyard bling that is almost immediately stolen by the local warlord. No one forms attachments to gaudy trinkets faster than 50 Cent, however, so he vows to end as many human lives as it takes to win back the priceless historical treasure he doesn't really have any claim to anyway. Hey, I think we found another potential husband for Lara Croft. You. SSBB is awesome. I'm pretty sure that the reason you don't like SSBB is that you were crap at it. It's true, isn't it? And don't try to blame it on bad controls or opponents having super moves that strike you out in one hit. It's because it took you 5 hours to figure out up was jump and A was attack. Now who's the twat? Well, it's certainly not you, because you've just been upgraded to dickhead, and a presumptuous dickhead at that. Actually, I don't remember making any reference to bad controls or overpowered super moves in my review, so either you've got the wrong address or you're projecting so hard you could point yourself at a wall and show off PowerPoint presentations. But the accusation of simply being bad at games is one I've fielded before, and while it's true that I've never beaten the LUIGI Purple Coin Challenge, I like to think I review for everyone. And considering I've been gaming for most of my life, most average people are going to be even worse than me, and that's a scary thought. By the way, it's alright, you can swear on the internet, your mum probably isn't going to read it. I know, because she's too busy being fucked by me. Animal Crossing did the same thing. Each day a new selection of random collectibles, wonderful trophies to mark your exceptional achievement of having done fuck all but turn the game on today. But at least there were options as to what you did with them. Put them in your house, donate to the museum, bury them alongside the remains of the reindeer man who just had to ask for a peach one too many fucking times. Speaking of hardware, there are the standard apocalyptic coffee break sequences where you pull a remote control from the arse dimension and rain predator drone death down upon an enemy unable to in any way defend themselves or fight back. And you know what? I don't see how I'm supposed to have any grasp of the relative enemy threat when we may or may not be packing armfuls of super weapons we forgot to mention. Like after the enemy base ram raid, I'm told to pick off the stragglers with the robot sniper. Hold on a second, when did we set up a fucking robot sniper? What did we bring it here in? How did we set it up without the enemy noticing? Did we disguise it as a badger watching station? But Dead Rising 3 will take whatever it can get. Oh, you don't want to go to a workbench, just make combos where you stand. Oh, you don't have the right items, just buy an upgrade that lets you use any item in the same category. Oh, you don't even want to craft, just go to a weapons locker and fill your inventory with clones of any item you've touched, glanced at or heard about. Then perhaps I could put on some stocking suspenders and bring you a selection of mixed drinks and nibbles. Do you love me yet? Batman, but that's what they've made him into, a broody misery guts who communicates solely in growly macho soundbites that only make sense until you think about them. If you asked old Garrett why he stole, he'd answer, "'Cause I need to pay rent and it's the only thing I'm good at, so shut up and let go of your wallet." New Garrett would, and indeed does, give the answer, "Because it's what I do." No, Garrett, it's what you are currently doing. Hey Yahtzee, why are you kicking New Garrett in the stomach? 'Cause it's what I'm currently doing! But the story's competent as murder mystery goes. You're wrong-footed by obvious suspects, events recontextualised as the facts unfold, and some people get murdered in it, which I always think is crucial to the genre, and the supernatural elements throw a few curveballs, but at least remain internally consistent, unlike the fact that a man who wears a fedora and vest somehow managed to convince someone to marry him without choking on their own vomit during the vows. Well, I never said I wasn't a hypocrite.